Hey everyone, it's Michael from Notefolds, and today I'm going to show you how to make this great Christmas tree waterfall card. A little spin on the traditional waterfall card I came up with, where we actually attach some triangles to our waterfall pieces so that when the pole strip is pulled, the tree branches fall out of the way, and then we have a nice place to write a sentiment there, Merry Christmas, whatever you want to do. And then of course when they push the pole strip back up, the tree comes back into place. Now, something very clever I did here as a little variation is that you can actually see the other side of the background paper on the inside. This is a punch, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's get started. To make the triangles for the tree, what you want to do is take one of the 2" by 4" pieces of paper and go ahead and mark it on the 4" side at 2 inches. So just make a little mark right there at 2 inches. And then we're going to take the ruler and we're going to diagonally draw a line from that 2" mark down to the other corner. Go ahead and do that. And then we'll do it on the other side. Like that. So you can see here is where the triangle for the tree is going to be. So all we need to do now is cut off these 2 pieces. So let's go ahead and do that. And of course you can use a bypass trimmer if you want. I'm just going to use scissors for expediency. And make sure to save these triangles that you're cutting off because you could use them to make another tree, maybe a smaller one. Okay, so there's the triangle that we'll be using for the waterfall. The pieces that we'll be using to make this card is our card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5, our background, which is 4" by 5¼ inches, and we made a brace out of the same paper, the same background paper, and that is 1" by 4¼ Our pole strip, which we're using in this cream color, you won't be able to see very much of it, but we're going to be stamping a sentiment on it. That is 2" by 9 inches. We also have 4 squares, which are cut from the same cream paper. There's the 4th one. And these are 2 by 2 inches. And finally, we have our 4 triangles, which are going to be the tree. And these are 2" by 4 inches, and I showed you just before in the step on how to cut these triangles. So you need to take your base paper and score it right down the middle at 4¼ So this is our 8.5" side, so we're just going to cut it right in half to make our card base, and then we'll just fold it in half, making sure to line up those corners, get a nice sharp crease there. So now we have our card base. Now this next step is completely optional, but this is my background piece of paper, and it's a double-sided piece of paper, and normally what would happen is we would put that base, or we put the base down and then the background on top, and then we lose that other side. So I'm going to show you a trick on how we can preserve that other side. So as you can see, I've got the big shot out here, and what I'm going to do is take my base and I'm going to take a punch. Now since we're doing a Christmas card, I'm going to use this ornament punch from Spellbinders. And we'll just make sure that we've got that oriented properly. So that way, when the card is closed, you won't be able to see it because the background will be on top. But then when it's opened, the punch will show the other side of the two-sided piece of paper. So let's go ahead and line that up there. And then we'll put our plate on top of it, making sure everything's all nice and centered. And then let's go ahead and run that through. Okay, so let's take a look. So there you can see we've got the punch, and of course you want to save this piece for maybe another project. Put that to the side. So now what you'll see is we've got the front of our card, right? When we end up putting our background down, it's going to cover that up. But then when the card is opened, you'll be able to see the other side of the background through. So there you go. Now it's time to attach the background to our base card, and remember we did a punch here, completely optional, but we did it so that the other side of this background paper could show through on the inside. So let's put that to the side here, and we're going to end up with a 1/8 inch border around, so we'll need to keep that in mind when we're putting down the tape. So normally I would just attach the tape to the background piece, but since we have this punch here, we want to make sure that the tape isn't ending up showing through on the other side, or else that's going to make our card stick together. So we're just going to kind of put this tape a little bit further down, and it should be plenty to hold the paper on. So we're just going to put that all around. I think that looks pretty good. So now let's take our background paper and we'll line it up so that we've got that nice 1/8 inch border going all the way around. Press that down, and now you see when we open up the paper, there is the other side of the two-sided paper showing through with that nice ornament punch. Now that we have the background attached to the base of our card, it's time for us to attach the brace. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn over this piece of paper, and we're just going to do a little bit of tape runner on either side, just one strip wide, because our pull tab is going to go through this piece of paper. So let's go ahead and turn that back over. Bring our card base back in. What we're going to do is we're going to place this about 3/4 of the way down on our card. And it's going to run edge to edge. So just make sure that's nice and straight and attach that down. So now our brace is attached, and again, we don't have any tape in between here because our pull tab is actually going to go right under that. Now that the card base is prepared, it's time to make the strip. What we're going to do is we're going to take our 2x9 piece of cream paper, and we're going to score it at 2 inches, 2 3/4 inches, 3.5 inches, and 4 1/4 inch. Then we're going to fold on those score lines. And the folds are all going to go the same direction. Now we're going to take the pull strip and attach our squares to the paper. So with the shortest side of the paper, here's our 2-inch score line right here, we're actually going to just run a strip of tape right below that 2-inch score line. And then we'll take one of our 2-inch squares and we're going to attach it just below that score line, making sure that our edges are all lined up. And this is what the Christmas tree triangles are going to sit on. So now we'll do another strip of tape at the next score line, just right below it. And again, we'll do it at the next score line. Run a strip of tape right below. And finally, we need one more strip of tape below our last score line. Okay, so now our squares are attached to the pull strip. Next, we need to attach our Christmas tree triangles to the squares that we attached to the pull strip. So how we're going to do that, I'm going to move these out of the way, is remember these are going to hang over the pull strip. So you can't just do tape all the way around the edge. Instead, I'm just going to do one strip of tape down the center and then maybe a couple smaller pieces on either side. So let's go ahead and do that. So just one strip right down the center and then maybe a couple smaller strips on the side because we don't want that stickiness hanging over the edge. So now I'm going to just line up this triangle with the center of the square, and the bottom part of the tree is going to rest right on the edge of the square as well. So the top is going to touch right at the top of the square, and the bottom of the triangle is going to be right at the bottom of the square. And then we'll just fold that one out of the way, and we're going to do the same thing for the other 4 pieces. So again, just a strip of tape in the middle, a couple on the edges, just so that it sticks. And then we're going to line that up, making sure that the bottom of the tree is touching at the bottom of the square as well, because we don't want the cream to show through. As you can see, as that lies over, it's going to make a nice Christmas tree effect. So fold that one out of the way and get to the next one. Again, just do our strip of tape. And let's make sure that we get that lined up with the bottom. And we want to make sure that these are somewhat centered on here. You can pre-mark the paper, that's what I usually do, just to make sure everything's lined up. But you know, if you like to just eyeball it, that should be fine too. And here's our last triangle, and we'll put that onto the last square. Okay, so now that this is folded up, you can see we have a nice looking Christmas tree, and now it's time to attach it to the base. Now that we have our card base prepared and our pull strip with the Christmas tree prepared, all we need to do now is get both of them attached together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the pull strip and just turn it over, and at the very bottom we're going to run a strip of tape. And this is what's going to attach to the brace. And we only want to do like one strip of tape there, because if we go any higher we're going to end up hitting the background of the card. So now we're going to thread the pull strip through the brace, and that's why we did not put any tape here, we only did it on the sides. And we're going to align the lower edge of the pull strip with the lower edge of the brace. So we've got the tape on there that should hold it in place, and we want to kind of get that centered right on there, just to the edge of it. That looks good, and we'll push it down. Let's pull this pull strip back up. So there you go, you can see that we've got our tree, and then when it's pulled, the tree falls out of the way, and we can have a nice sentiment right here on the pull strip, because you can see the pull strip does come down pretty far. And then when you want to put it back together, just push the pull strip back up, and the tree is back intact. And remember, on the inside, when they open it up, they've got that nice punch out showing the other side of our background piece of paper. And then of course you'll want to dress this up however you want, add some ornaments, decorations to the tree itself, make sure to stamp a sentiment on the pull strip, and I'd love to see what you come up with, so be sure to post something in the comments below.